Hi everybody, welcome to this week's Coffee with Hila. Hope you had a good week. It was another one of those crazy weeks for me. So many things happened. I wanted to talk about one thing, and then so many other things happened throughout the week, and it sort of throws you off. I didn't even check the results of the negotiations with Hamas about the hostages because it's only going to confuse me more with my message. So my original message this week was to do with the fact that, in my opinion, there's no left and right after the 7th of October. I mean, there's a need to survive, and survival is a primal need before you can start thinking of your affiliation. And it's to do with Maslow's hierarchy chart of needs, of basic needs, which is that. So if you can see it. So I was going to talk about that. And then all sorts of things happened in America, in the UK, there was elections. Today was a rally next to the Qatari embassy in London, which I was meant to be in, but because there are so many things going through my head and I needed to prepare today, or I wanted to prepare today, I had to gather my thoughts and I didn't want to get further distracted. So I regret not going anyway, because from the speeches that I've seen, it was very powerful and it was very important. The messages there were extremely important. So I urge everybody to watch Lily Moo's speech on Instagram. It's on Enough is Enough's Instagram, and I think it's on Rev Haley Ace as well. It might be also on Lily Moo's. I haven't seen it yet, and also My Tusi. He's got a YouTube channel where he broadcasts live from these events, and he also spoke about his mom escaping Iran when it became radical Islamist state, and she came here to a free land, and she found herself again having to be afraid of the same things that made her escape from Iran to here. So this is just what happened today. So there's things that are happening around the world, there's things that are happening in Israel, and there's what I wanted to talk about. So I'll try not to make it too long, because I recorded it once and it became too long, so I'm re-recording, and I hope it's not going to be that long. All right, so the first thing that I wanted to mention is tonight we start commemorating the Holocaust Memorial Day, which starts this evening, ends tomorrow night. And every year it's a very emotional, painful day, with stories, with movies, with memories of our family members, grandparents, and great uncles and aunties who have not survived the Holocaust. And it is a very profound day emotionally. And this year it has become the meaning, it received such a more vivid meaning after experiencing 7th of October, which was not, I don't want to take away from the severity of the Holocaust, from the extreme cruelty and the gigantic number of Jews that have yet not recovered. By the way, when people are talking about genocide, that's the meaning of genocide. The amount of Jews in the world, in Europe, has not yet recovered since the Holocaust, since what it was before the Holocaust. So this is the true meaning of a genocide. The thing about the 7th of October is, I think the numbers are something that we can perceive. Because when somebody tells you 6 million, you can't imagine that. When I tell you 3, you can imagine. When I tell you 100, you can imagine. When I tell you 1,000, you sort of have a grasp of what it would look like if you put 1,000 people in an area. But when you think about 6 million, 6 million is something that is very, very difficult to imagine. But yes, so after things that happened, and on the 7th of October, and I had Jewish friends turned to me and asked me if I have some proof to things that happened on the 7th of October, such as beheaded babies and the proof of rape of little girls. And I must say that, apart from the fact that I have zero intention of going through all the videos and testimonies of the day unless I absolutely have to, there is something that's called honoring of the dead. We do not take photos, we do not take videos and share with the world of beheaded babies and of raped little girls. We honor them. And I think that the requirement is a bit of a sadistic requirement when people start questioning the genuinity of what happened on the 7th of October. There is no question about what happened, okay? So If anybody wants to pick nits in what exactly happened, be my guests. But the 1,400 people that were alive are no longer alive, okay? And the cruelty and the first responders testimonies and the videos, the body cameras of the terrorists that were captured, and testimonies of people who saw the things happening to their loved ones. I think you cannot argue with that, and these are facts that we're going to remain raw in our mind for many years. So this is tonight, and what happened what I wanted to talk about is when I prepared in my head the idea of what I wanted to talk about was the fact that voting left is a luxury because according to what I can associate, that Maslow's hierarchy pyramid of needs with the reality, because what happens in reality, people expect us, or they ask, what about the children of Gaza? They talk about the next step, they talk about left and right, and what left is meant to represent, which is an utopic world of love and peace and harmony, is not currently realistic. Because when you have to fight for your survival, when you need to ensure that first of all, you're breathing, because the first stage in that pyramid is breathing. So if you don't have air, if you're gasping for air, you can't move on. And when you move on, the next thing is your safety, is knowing nobody is after you, nobody wants to kill you. And there's genocidal calls all over the world, and in the marches against Jews everywhere and against Israel everywhere, you hardly feel that you are safe. So before you go over one step and climb to the next step and get to the third step, before you ensure your ability to breathe and your safety and being alive, you cannot move on to caring what your friends think, or having friends and love and self-esteem, and then the higher values of self-fulfillment, which is what we do when we do coaching, and you're actually trying to become the best version of yourself. So we're not there at the moment. The 7th of October took us years back, because everything that happened after that, because already on the 8th of October, people were marching for our death. So it put us in a very fragile situation, which is very similar to how people felt in Nazi Germany 80 years ago. Because how we are today, it's just changed the narrative. I think in one of my Instagram posts I wrote, or stories, I wrote, the Holocaust never ended, it just changed its narrative. And it's a feeling that I've been carrying with me for many, many years. I sensed it, I felt it, the hatred is there, the anti-Semitism is there, the fact that the genocidal narratives such as the PLO, which the Palestinian narrative and the PLO flag and all it symbolizes is a call for genocide of the Jewish people. It's just changed the narrative. So instead of the Nazi Europeans want us dead, now it's the Nazi Palestinians that want us dead. And what happens around the world is that people who have always been affiliated with the left and the values that the left has represented in their opinion, like the right to your own body, the right to freedom of speech, freedom of faith, freedom of gender affiliation, freedom of being, all these things, then they suddenly march with all those people that call for exactly the opposite. Because what those pro-terrorist marches do, they call for caliphate, for Sharia law, they don't say everything in such clear manner, because they're very cunning and they're very happy to confuse everyone. So for example, Billie Eilish is one of those people that during the Oscars wore the ceasefire emblem with a bloody hand, with a red hand saying ceasefire. So I don't know if you know what dog whistling is, but dog whistling is something that is aimed at somebody who would understand, but everybody else around you won't understand. So the person who designed that knew very well what this bloody hand represented. He knew very well that we as Israelis would know what the bloody hand represented. Whether the people who actually wore those pins knew or not is a whole other story. But we knew, and the person who designed it knew that we're going to know. And the message was that when, in 2000 to 2001, when two reservists took the wrong turning on the way to practice, they got into Ramallah and they were captured by the Palestinian police, which was meant to look after them, and or send them straight back out of there. They took them to a prison cell and they were abducted by the mob who committed lynch in them. And they took out their liver and their heart, and they filled their hands were filled with blood, and they held their hands like this out the window, filled with blood, and that is the symbol that was on that emblem calling for ceasefire. So tell me, how is such a cruel act of murder can be a call for ceasefire? And people march with those symbols and with those people who call with all the genocidal calls, while they're cunning them into a pretense peace activists, which they're not. Because, you know, yesterday we went to a protest that we were called upon by UCL students in UCL University. There was a pro-terrorist march, or a pro-terrorist group that came to protest, and they wanted us to come and counter that, because the enough is enough thing in London. The aim is get the terrorists off our streets. It's enough. It's enough. They're marching with genocidal calls, with genocidal placards, with gaslighting placards, because they take everything that they done to us and they blame us for it as if we've done it. So it's all very, very cunning, very, very, very manipulative, absolute crime, but they're allowed to do that. And people don't see, because the people who are marching with them are people who vote Labour all their lives. They voted Labour, and they're like they would not vote for the Conservatives because they may be angry with them for all sorts of other things. So they stick to voting for Labour, regardless of what Labour represents. And Jeremy Corbyn, when he's marching those marches, he goes with Sinn Féin members, the IRA member who held yesterday a big banner, him and a few others. They held a big banner with a dove and two walls and the key, and on the top it said peace. And we asked the police to remove it, and the police asked why. And very similar to the thing with the red hands, it was a message that we would understand. Of course, it came to confuse everybody else because they put a dove in, so it's like peace. But what the dove was doing was breaking through the walls like they did on the 7th of October. It had the key, which is for them symbolizing the key to the land of Israel, the keys to the houses that they have taken with them when they left of their own accord, or that have been purchased from them in 1948. I spoke about this in the past. I don't want to go back into that. But they have like the key to Israel, and the dove is like breaking through. And basically it's a call for repeating the 7th of October. It's justifying the 7th of October, and it's a call to repeat it. And for us, it was very, very clear. The people who designed it, it was very, very clear. To the police and bystanders, it was confusing. And that is the whole point of what's going on now. And there is nothing left. There is nothing about the values that the left is meant to represent, about what the left is representing today. Because the 13 new mayors or members of councils that have been elected in the UK on Thursday are Islamists. They're not just peaceful Muslims. The first thing they did was call Allahu Akbar and death to the Jews and the Zionists. They are not supporting values of a free world and of free community, acceptance, love, or peace in any way. But still, the people who keep on voting left continued voting left. And for us, left, like I said, is a luxury. And for other people, left has got a bit confused. I think Lily Mu's speech today said it in the best way possible, because it's exactly the message I wanted to convey, but she said it so much better. So I really urge you to watch that. And another thing that happened yesterday was that Nia Gorbani again got arrested. Nia Gorbani, if you know, the Iranian freedom fighter who stands with us and supports. We stand with a lot of people. Our counter protests for the terrorists represent people from all walks of life. We've got the Berbers, which are minorities from north of Algeria, which were Jews, and they were gobbled up by the Islam. Some of them escaped to Israel, some of them dispersed around the world, and some of them in the UK, which are basically faithless. They have no religion. They don't affiliate with being Jewish or anything, but they are just a group of people that took their culture from where they left, from where they had to leave. So we've got them, we've got Indians, we've got people with American flags, with the Union Jacks, with the Israeli flag, of course. We got Lebanese Christians, we got Brazilian people with us. We have so many people who are actually genuine freedom fighters, who are actually genuinely interested in free world for all of us. And Nia Gobani was holding St. George's flag of England in pro-terrorist march. And he was arrested in the most aggressive manner. You can see the videos on Instagram again and on 2C's TV on YouTube. He was arrested in a very aggressive manner. He was held the entire day at the police station, and he was banned from being present at any counter-protest anywhere in the UK. So what is next? Is holding a Union Jack or a flag of the country that you live in is offensive to you, and it's okay for you to carry on living in that country? So why are these people allowed to march the streets in their hate fests, spewing hate against the country they live in, and they're being tolerated and hugged and embraced by their workers' union and by people they have literally nothing in common with? They're calling for Sharia law, for caliphate, for oppression, for what is happening in Iran. The reason the Iranians are marching with us is because every day somebody gets executed in Iran. The 14-year-old girl has been sexually abused and murdered by the IRGC, and it's been hushed and wrapped in some different wrapping for the world to be able to justify it. Yeah, as if there is a justification. There is no justification for these things. There is no justification whatsoever. But the way it's been portrayed to the public makes it minimizes the severity of what happens to the people in Iran who are being ran by, similar to Hamas, by Hezbollah. But these Hezbollah, Hamas, IRGC, they are all the same. And the people who are marching here with the left are marching for fascism, for lack of dialogue, for extremist views, and for the end of a free country that they live in. Like Britain is going to disperse. It's not going to be anything like what everybody who thinks of themselves as British or English loves about this country. And people who had to escape from other places to come here for a free world, you know. So it's losing its culture, and it's all the history that the British have always been so proud of. And today, if you march with the Union Jack or with St. George's flag of England, you're called a football hooligan, or you're trying to to cause problems and tease the pro-terrorist march, and you are a radical far right. And it's like trying to move you from the real focus of what is really happening. And in the world, the universities calling Israel an apartheid state, where in reality everybody who knows Israel, everybody who's been to Israel, everybody who sees some of the videos knows we're not an apartheid state. There's a mosque in Jaffa that was filmed today. I put it on my story with all the languages, Hebrew, in Arabic, in English, welcoming people. There was a ceremony, Christian ceremony yesterday, celebrated in Israel in masses. And Israel is the most free, supporting and free-loving country that I can think of. So we're definitely not an apartheid state. But what happens in those Columbia University and Harvard universities is that people are doing exactly the things that they are blaming us that we are not doing for doing. So if you don't have a wristband that's saying that you support terrorism, you're not allowed to enter a library or a certain building in the university, and you're being bullied and harassed and attacked by a mob of ignorant youth that follows some twisted ideology that they believe somehow that is the right way forward, that is calling for inclusivity, and you see them praying like Muslims, but you're not Muslims, you know. And I don't know if they know what they're doing. I don't know if they believe what they're doing. They are just following like a herd. And the anti-Semitism, the feeling of Jews in those universities, all the Jews that have been attacked or assaulted, or yesterday when we left that march, there were those pro-Pali peace marchers following us, trying to get a fight. There was so much police there, so thank God they were there. They immediately saw what was happening, and they actually protected us, which we were grateful for. But they are not looking for peace. They're looking for war and for trouble. They pretend to be marching for something that is like, they call us baby killers because they kill babies. They call us all the words that they did, they call us, and then everybody looks at them and then, yeah, you know, it's you have to be, literally you have to be blind to not see through it. Anyhow, at the moment, as Jews, as Israelis, the feeling, I've always felt it, that the hatred has not left, has not gone anywhere, but today it's rife and it's in our faces, and the feeling, which is very similar to how Nazi Germany started in the 30s, it feels exactly the same in other places. The narrative has changed, the slogans have changed, the flags have changed, but it's the same meaning, it's the same ideology, it's the same call for genocide and for extermination of the Jewish people, who the word Zionist mean the self-determination, the right to self-determination in their homeland, in our homeland. So yeah, with that I want to end. I just I don't want to get carried away with the messages. Qatar, the thing with Qatar today was that Qatar is a wolf in a sheep's skin. They're playing a double game, because they managed to release 2 hostages from Hamas 2 weeks after the 7th of October because of connections that those 2 people had with Sean King, who's an anti-Semite BLM member. And because of his connections with terror organizations, he had connections with Qatar, who got them free. So if Qatar could have released 2 hostages, Qatar could have released other hostages. Qatar is playing a double game. They sponsor and finance a lot of establishments, a lot of politicians, a lot of media outlets. Qatari money is pretends Switzerland, pretends uninvolved. They are very much involved, and they are supporting terrorism. They go hand in hand with the Iranian IRGC. They go hand in hand with Hamas and Hezbollah. There's a reason why the high leaders of Hamas live in prosperity and great riches in Qatar. And what they do is they ensure that the messages that you get in the universities, in the media outlets, and in every place is what they want you, the narratives that they want you to believe in, the narratives that they want to push forward. So Qatar is really, really not innocent in the game. They are very, very bad players and in the field. And that was today was the call for them to actually for people to see the truth. It wasn't for them because the Qataris, they won't change, but the ability of people to see in the truth. That's what we aim at showing. So you can see that on 2CTV's video here, the live stream, and there's also videos everywhere else. And with that, I wish you a good week. And yeah, just stay alive, stay well, and keep on fighting for real freedom, because real freedom is what we're talking about, the truth. See you then. See you next week.